Hey everybody, I'm Brian with Aromacup.com, and thank you guys as always for joining me here in my virtual coffee shop brought to you by Aromacup.com. In today's video, I'm talking about a new, very unique entry into the world of single-serve coffee brewing, and that is the Blu Tigres single-serve pod brewer. Very cool machine, very unique, different from a lot of the other single-serve machines that I've talked about here on Aromacup.com. I'm going to dive in, I'm going to show you guys how we can brew some coffee and tea with it, of course, talk about the bells and whistles on the machine. But before I do that, I'm going to show you one of the most important things on this machine, and that's priming the pump before you start making use of it. So let's go ahead and dive in and show you how that's done. Okay, so inside of the manual for this machine was a number of warnings which said, do not start using the machine until you have primed the pump. There were even stickers on it which said, do not start using the machine, prime the pump first. So I learned very quickly, prime the pump in the machine first. But it's really, really easy to do. Now, if you're going to leave this machine off for a long time or something like that, you're probably going to need to prime the pump again. But you really only need to do this once, and then if the machine is in standby mode, it's still going to be ready to brew. So you don't need to prime the pump over and over and over again. Before you even turn the machine on, don't press that power button when you first plug this machine in, because before you even turn it on, you need to prime the pump. So I'm just going to take a normal size mug here, I'm going to put it under the brew basket, and now I'm going to prime it by simply holding down the volume and brew buttons for 3 seconds. So I'm just going to press both of these down. Okay, so now the machine is going to start priming the pump. I'm just going to run some water through itself in order to get itself ready for brewing coffee and tea. So you need to make sure and do this, again, before you make use of the unit, because if you don't do that, from what I understand, the machine just very simply is not going to brew correctly. So just make sure that you do this. It doesn't take too long. I've also found that this is a good way to just simply clean the machine. Every once in a while, I'll just turn it off and then I'll just prime it, because this is an auto priming mode. Again, all you need to do is just hold those 2 buttons down and just go ahead and let it run its process. And this is a cool way to clean it out after you've brewed a lot of cups of coffee or something like that. And again, like I say, it's an auto priming mode, so you really just need to let it go ahead and do its thing. I'm going to just about fill up this cup with water from inside the machine. And there you go, now it's done. So the little LCD screen will stop glowing. You notice that the power button is still red because the machine is not actually turned on right now. But now you're ready to start brewing coffee and tea. So let's go ahead and dive in and talk about the bells and whistles on this machine and how it works and things like that. And then, of course, we'll get to brewing some coffee and tea. Okay, guys, so let's talk about the features on this machine. It's pretty simple and straightforward, which is something I really, really like about it. But, of course, it does have some things that are different from some other single-serve machines that we've talked about here on Aromacup.com. So on the side of the unit here, you've got your water reservoir. It's very clear and easy to read because it's on the side. It's not mounted on the back, which I think is very cool because it lets you know exactly when it's time to add water, and I thought that was something I really like about the machine. It's got a minimum and a maximum fill line, so you know how much water you can add to it and how much you have left and things like that. It's very easy to fill up by just taking off the lid, and you can fill up through the top if you use maybe a pitcher of water or something like that, or of course you could just take the whole reservoir off and fill it up from your faucet or a filtered water faucet or something like that. So that's real easy to make use of. As we move into the center of the unit, it's pretty straightforward. The power button is right here on the bottom. And when I power the unit up, the LCD screen is going to start glowing blue. It's a nice glowing blue, so you can read it in just about any type of light that you have in your kitchen or anywhere that you might have the machine. And when I turn it on, it's going to tell me that it's heating. It's going to give me a little readout and just let me know, and I'll hear it heating up a little bit, just kind of some boiling happening inside of the unit. As I move up, there's really not many buttons on this machine, which is cool. You've got the brew button, of course, and then you have the volume button. Now, the volume button is not going to turn the stereo volume up in your house or anything like that. This is actually for choosing the volume of how much water you want to make use of when you decide to brew coffee or tea. And then the brew button, of course, is going to allow you to just simply start brewing with the machine. So it's very straightforward on the operation, and I'll show you guys, of course, how we're going to make use of that in just a few moments here. On the main body of the machine right here, you have your tray on the bottom, and the tray, one thing I will say is that a regular size mug fits very easily. A taller mug doesn't fit very easily, but that's not really a problem because you can take out this plastic part of the tray and you could slide a cup in there, so you can do that. or if you want, you can slide out this little removable piece here and then slide a larger mug in. Now you can't really make use of very, very large tumblers with this machine, is something that I've noticed. But that's not really a problem, I think, because something I can tell you is that every single cup of coffee I've had out of this machine has been awesome. So I don't hold the small amount of tray space against it. That's just all it comes down to. Now, the outlet on the unit is actually a double outlet, which is very cool because I think that it allows for a lot more water to come through the coffee pods and really gives you the best possible brew on the coffee or tea that you're using. One of the most unique things about this unit is the pod system that it makes use of. Now you're going to notice there's this lever on the side of the unit, and if I pop that backwards, it's kind of spring-loaded, I can pull out the pod tray. And there's a little bit of water in there right now, but it doesn't leak everywhere from the bottom, which is also very nice because it's a pressurized system. So in this case, the pod tray is where we drop in our pods when it's time to start brewing coffee. And it's very easy to make use of, and it's pretty unique. When I show you guys the pods, you'll understand what I'm talking about because this is very different from the other types of pods that we've used with a lot of other single-serve brewers. So as you can see, it's a very simple unit. It doesn't have a whole lot of bells and whistles to it, but I think that's something that makes it really cool. It's very straightforward. And it's also low profile. It fit onto my countertop very, very nicely, and because of its size and its shape, it was really easy to put next to my other coffee machines because I do have a lot in my case, or if in your case you don't have a lot of counter space, it's nice to have something that doesn't eat up a bunch of counter space, but still makes a great cup of coffee. So let's go ahead and dive in, and I'll show you guys how we can make use of some of the unique coffee pods for the Blu Tigres single-serve pod brewer. Okay, so the main event here, right? The coffee pods themselves. Now, as I've said, these are very unique, and they are. Now, all of the coffee pods for this single-serve brewer come in these foil packages, and they are vacuum sealed. So this is a little bit different. There is not, as far as I know, as of the time of the making of this video, there is not a way to make use of your own coffee making use of the Blu Tigres machine. But it's not really a problem because, like I say, every single pod that I have tried for this machine has made incredibly awesome coffee and tea. So let me go ahead and show you guys what this looks like. I'm just going to tear this pod open. This is from Zoka Coffee Roasters. They're in Seattle, Washington. This is a Tuscan blend. And let me take out this pod. So you notice this looks a little bit different from what we're used to seeing with a lot of single-serve brewers. It's just really a filter with some coffee inside of it. There's no plastic here, which I think is really cool, because I've started to notice that with a lot of plastic pods, when I use it in a machine that has a lot of heat to it, I start to taste that plastic a little bit, and I really am not a fan of that when it comes to single-serve brewers. I just want to taste the coffee, I don't want to taste plastic, so I like the fact that this is just a normal filter pod. You are going to notice that here on the bottom of the pod it says very distinctly, this side down. So this is very important. You need to make sure that you put that side down when you go to brew your coffee. So let me show you how this is done. To start brewing, all we have to do is pop up this lever that's on the side of the unit. Like I say, it's spring-loaded, so it should just pop right back, and then pull out the pod tray right here. Now, the pod tray is pretty straightforward. It takes 8 to 10 gram pods, because depending on the type of coffee or tea that you're using, the pod size is going to be a little bit different. In this case, I believe this is a 10-gram pod. Now, take this pod and just pop it into the pod tray, making sure that you have that side that says this side down facing downwards. Now it looks like it's sticking out a little bit. You really don't have to pack this down very closely or anything like that, because you're going to notice that despite the fact that it sticks out a little bit, this is just going to slide in really easily. So it didn't get folded up or bunched up or anything like that when I slid it in. And then all I need to do is pop that lever down. This is going to lock the brewing mechanism in place and get the machine ready for brewing. Now all I need to do, take a mug of course, pop it under the brew basket, and I'm just going to choose the volume that I would like to brew. Now by default this machine is on 10 right now. You can choose from a 5, an 8, a 9, a 10, and a 12-ounce cup of coffee. I'm going to go ahead and just do an 8 for right now. So just click that button a couple times to select the option that you would like, and then simply press the brew button. Now, one of the things that you may notice about this machine is that it sounds like it has an espresso machine pump inside of it. I've noticed that the pump inside of this machine sounds a lot like many of the single-serve espresso machines, which I've made use of in the past. Now, the interesting thing about that is you're going to notice that the coffee that comes out actually sort of has a very espresso quality to it. I'm actually getting sort of a crema, and I'm getting that layering here with the coffee, but this is, like I say, this is a Tuscan blend. This is not an espresso blend of coffee. And so I found that very interesting, and I think that that really comes from the pump that is inside of this unit. And again, calling back to the earlier part of our video here, that's why it's very important that you make sure and prime that pump before you start brewing with the Blu Tigres single serve pod brewer, because that's going to make sure that you get the best possible cup of coffee or tea. So you notice this looks very much like an espresso right here, but it is just a normal cup of coffee. It's got a little bit of a crema on it, but I can tell you that is a really great looking cup of coffee, guys. I mean, it is dark, very dark. And the quality of all of the pods, and I've tried, I believe, every single one so far for the most part with this machine, everything has been great. So I can't stop singing its praises when it comes to the actual quality of the coffee. I've really loved everything that I've gotten out of this machine. So cleanup is really easy. You're going to hear the machine kind of going through its reheating process when you're done. But to clean up, all you need to do is pop that lever up and then take out the pod tray. And you're going to notice that the pod now is definitely it's been smashed down. You see some indentations on it, and all of that is from the actual brewing mechanism when I closed up that lever on top of this. All you need to do is just take this pod out. Now it's spent. Be careful, it's going to be hot, of course, and you can just set that aside. Now the cool thing is that there's very little waste here because, like I say, it's just a regular filter, which is very, very nice. So for some of you folks out there who like to be a little bit more environmentally conscious about your coffee making when you're in the world of single serve, I think this is actually a pretty good way to go. Let's go ahead and make some tea now. I have a Marley Coffee Rubio Citron here. This is an herbal artisan tea. And again, the teas and the coffees that I've gotten out of this machine have just been great. Let's go ahead and pull out this tea pod right here. So the tea pod is a little bit different. You notice it's not packed as tightly as the coffee pod was. It smells great. That's another thing I noticed is when I open up these foil packs, you actually smell the coffee, you smell the tea. And I think that really shows you that there's a great quality going on here with these pods. So again, it's marked very clearly this side down. Make sure to just pop that side in facing down into the actual pod tray, and then just take that tray, slide it back in, and then close that lever on top of it. When you feel it lock, you're ready to start brewing. So as I say, I can't really fit a large tumbler in very easily on this unit, so I can take the tray out, and then if I want to, just simply slide out the plastic piece right here from the tray, set those aside, and then slide my tumbler underneath. So you can get a little bit of a taller one in here, but you don't want to push it too much, I think. And again, for brewing tea, this is not a robotic machine. That's another thing I should notice. You know, it doesn't have a computer inside of it which is going to read anything and tell the machine that now you're brewing tea or now you're brewing coffee. So you need to be mindful of the type of strength of the drink that you like. So just keep that in mind anytime that you're making use of one of these. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go ahead and select the volume of the coffee that I would like to make use of, or in this case, of course, the tea that I'm making use of. And I'm just going to press the volume button. I'm going to go ahead and let's just move up to, let's say, 9 ounces this time. Just give 9 ounces a try. So I'm going to move up to 9 ounces, and then I'm just going to hit the brew button right here on the front of the machine. Now again, something that I've noticed is that because the outlet on the Blu Tigres single serve pod brewer is a double outlet on the bottom, I think that really adds to the quality of the beverage when you brew it from the machine, because it really makes sure that you get as much water through that pod as you possibly can. So while the machine does its job, of course, I'll do mine and remind you guys, please join us at Aromacup.com. Join our forums, talk with other coffee lovers, find information on single serve brewers, pods, various things like that. A lot of great information available to you on Aromacup.com. You can get some coupons to save a little bit of money on all of these different things. You can watch our other videos and find our reviews on the many machines which we have reviewed and talked about here on Aromacup.com. And then you can make the most informed decision before you go out and buy a single serve machine. We will help you to demystify the world of single serve coffee and tea. That's one of the things that we do best here at Aromacup.com. So there you go. Again, the machine brews very, very quickly. About the longest that I've seen one of the largest cup size take to brew is usually about 60 seconds. So it's again a very, very fast machine. If you have a lot of folks in your house who are wanting a lot of coffee and tea very quickly, I think this is going to be a good way to do it. And like I say, one of the things you're going to notice is that there's actually even a little bit of a crema on top of the tea, which is kind of interesting. I've never seen a machine do that, in all honesty. So it's a very, very, very unique machine, the Blu Tigres single serve pod brewer. I really do think that this is one of the cooler single serve machines that I've ever used, based very much on the fact that it just makes a really phenomenal cup of coffee or tea. And ultimately, that's the most important thing when you come down to it, right? Is we want a good beverage out of our machine. So there you go, guys. That's a little overview of the Blu Tigres single-serve pod brewer. Like I say, very unique, cool machine. We will probably end up doing some more recipes with this machine down the road so that you can check it out a little more in depth. But we've covered pretty much everything there is to know about this machine right here. Thank you guys so much, as always, for joining me here in my virtual coffee shop brought to you by Aromacup.com. I'm Brian. Remember, join us at Aromacup.com. You can get in on our giveaways, our coupons, and of course our great reviews on single-serve machines just like this one and many, many others. Thanks again, guys. Hope you enjoyed our video, and we'll see you next time. Take care.